Welcome into the Bro Force Squad podcast. I'm going to be your host today as we review True Detective Episode 5, If You Have Ghost. Joining me today, we have the American hero, Nate Thurman, and our enforcer himself, Matthew F. Geiger. And we are going to review this episode on our 4 criteria that we usually review TV episodes on: acting cast, story plot, best scene, and theories or questions moving forward. So without further ado, Thurman, Go ahead with acting and cast.
I mean, as the previous reviews of the episodes have gone, I mean, the acting and cast is phenomenal. Mahershala Ali continues to show that he can basically do whatever the fuck he wants in an episode, a movie, whatever, as far as acting, because his character goes across so many emotions and he does them so well, and he really embraces all the emotions. I mean, he adds tension to scenes, as far as like the dinner party scene where him and Roland and his significant other are meeting. He has a very sexual scene in this, and he plays that off well, kind of creepy sexual. And then obviously he's angry in a lot of it, which he plays off well. But that's one of the main points, and I think this episode really encompasses that, is that obviously he's a great actor, and they're all great actors in the movie, in the series, but he has such a wide breadth of what he can do and his emotions, and he really plays it off well.
Geiger.
All right, so we've talked about Ali and Jagu, Dorf, Scoot McNairy. I think his character is getting developed really well. I like how he went from basically redneck alcoholic to born-again Christian, but I think True Detective is just basically doing a George Lucas Star Wars Yoda thing for us, that the biggest character in this isn't fully developed yet as he's been right under our nose the whole time, and that's Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher has been in this series, but I still haven't really heard him say more than a sentence to his dad, like, shut it off, he's done today, or yeah, I'm pretty sure this is his place. I think he is going to be one of the biggest characters going into this last 4 seasons. I'm waiting for it to, because I mean, the internet's going crazy with all these other characters with theories and stuff like that. I'm just waiting on Ray Fisher's. It's always the character you know nothing about, because you can't really develop a theory about him because you know nothing about the character. So I'm really waiting for Ray Fisher's time to shine in these next couple episodes.
Yeah, I know Hornacek has been on that Ray Fisher boat for a while now too, and I think his sentiments are pretty much the same as you. We don't know why, but we feel like he's a very important character. I'm going to go with Stephen Dorff in this. I know we've talked about him in the past, but when he's in the present-day timeline, his prosthetics are fucking terrible. He looked awful as a 75, 80-year-old man, or however old he's supposed to be in the present-day timeline. The acting was great, what he did, the way he delivered his lines, and we'll get into this best scene, but his interactions with Mahershala Ali was fantastic. But as far as the way that they made him look, and I guess his acting and how he's just basically drinking Crown all fucking day long, playing with his dogs,
was Crown and coffee.
Yeah,
love it.
Which was pretty cool. But his prosthetics were fucking terrible. You can tell a mile away he's wearing a fat suit, and the worst part
like a
is
Saturday Night Live episode or something.
Yeah, like wasn't even like they tried to hide it. They were just like, yeah, here, put this on, it's cool. So I don't know.
I know what you're doing, and I don't like it.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move right along. Story plot. Geiger, let's go to you first this time. What'd you think of the story plot as this story's unfolding?
So I don't think anything happened, but then sometimes these are the episodes where we go back and they're like, man, they planted so many Easter eggs. This next episode better fucking hit, dude. All this was, I mean, more stuff with Ali and Anjagu, like the husband and wife stuff. Him and Dorf's, I guess their relationships kind of grew in this. The only thing we kind of figured out was the Native American man. It was basically framed for the murder in the 80s. We believe framed. He's the one they pinned it on in the 80s for the murder of the little boy, and they think that he took the little girl too, and they believe that the little girl, he murdered her. They just couldn't find the body because they found the coat charred up and then a perfectly found backpack underneath a fucking deck that got blown to fucking shit. The only cool thing that I believe happened in this episode was right after the episode previous was like, you know, the shootout and everything like that, which we'll probably get to in best scene. But other than that, I don't know how you guys felt. I was kind of left flat with this story for this episode.
Yeah, it's kind of giving me blue balls, to be honest here. And I think they're doing like this deceptive thing where they make you think there's a shit ton of stuff developing because they give you all these little things thrown out there, but then they don't revisit them for a while. And so I'm hoping and I'm trusting in them that this is going to pay off eventually. But like with the backpack, there's got to be more than that. I know Roland shuts it down because he's like, we can't go that route because we're really focusing on finding Julie and the fingerprints and all that. And then Wayne finds the fingerprints missing from the old evidence. And then also the cryptic last scene. There was a lot of confusion. I've dissected it a few times trying to figure out what is going on, which I'm sure we'll visit here in the best scene coming up. But like I said, there's a lot developing. They keep going back to the relationship between Hayes and his wife, and I'm hoping something comes about there. And I know they go back and revisit the letter after he starts reading her book. So like I said, they keep giving you like these little Easter egg things, but you don't know what it's going to lead to. So like I said, I've got like a half chub right now, and I really want to get like full bore to go to town on this season. But I'm just waiting. But like I said, I'm going to trust him that it's going to pay off here soon.
I mean, I think what's really hard is that we're essentially watching 3 different shows that are all connected. It's like watching 3 different seasons of the same show. We're watching the 80s season, we're watching the 90s season, and then we're watching the present day season, but we're not able to watch them in order. So we have no fucking clue what's going on. We're getting a little bit here and a little bit there, but nothing is connecting the dots yet. And yeah, it's very deceiving. Like, oh man, we're getting all this stuff, but when you actually think back, you're like, I have no fucking clue what I'm watching. I have no idea what's going on. We know, at least I'm pretty sure, we know that Roland and Hayes killed somebody, right? In the 90s.
Yeah, that was admitted in this episode. Yeah.
So who did they kill? Which we'll get to this, I think, in theories of what I think. That was one big thing. Really, the only big thing I think that we learned in this episode. And then I think they're alluding to the fact that as Hayes is trying to put all this together in present day and kind of finish the story out, Roland is going to help him. Now, I think they're back being boys. And we know that those guys have been through some shit, and they've bonded in a way that we can not talk for 25 years. We're going to have a 5-minute conversation or a 10-minute conversation, air it all out there, and now we're boys again. And I thought they did a really good job of conveying that to us in a short amount of time. Other than that, I'm with you guys. I have no fucking clue what's going on, but something better start to hit, and we better start to connect some dots, and things better start to get a little bit more exciting here in the next couple episodes. I think we only have 3 episodes left in the season.
So are we all hoping that each timeline there's a big twist? I mean, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some payoffs for each timeline.
Yeah.
Because going back to some of the previous episodes, I'd kind of thought that the reason they got together in 1990 was to cover up some shit that happened in the 80s, which that still may be true, but now they're kind of steering you towards they're trying to cover up shit that happened in the 90s. So it's kind of shifted a little bit. So, I mean, the ultimate payoff is going to be present day or the series present day in 2015. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some shit that's uncovered in the other 2 timelines.
All right, guys. Best scene before we get to theories. I'll go first because I think this is, I'm not going to lie, I'm just going to be a dickhead and steal what I think both of you guys are going to say. It was just basically the entire 3rd act of this episode with Hayes and Roland talking out on the back porch, looking at all of Roland's dogs. Obviously, again, like I said before, they're lifelong friends. They did a fantastic job of conveying and explaining to us that they have this bond and that they've been through some shit that normal people don't go through, that they've got this very unique brotherhood that not a lot of people get to, and you can't just have with anybody. But they did it in a way that's just like old friends hanging out. I really enjoyed it. Again, I said what I thought. I thought Mahershala Ali's prosthetics are fantastic. However, Stephen Dorff's are just terrible. You can tell where they decided to put the money.
Yeah.
But that whole scene and their dynamic and their chemistry together and the way that they talk and conveyed all of that to us was absolutely fantastic. You just got two heavyweights going at it with each other, and that's why we watch the show, is because we want to see these people do that.
Yeah, there was
Thurman. Yeah, let's go to you.
I was just going to make one quick comment on yours.
That was why I was going to you, because I knew you had some shit to say.
Yeah, because you said it was basically two Titans going back and forth, and even in that last scene where they're sitting on the porch, it's crazy the emotions that they go through. Because first they're talking, and then Roland starts to get angry at him for not apologizing, and then they go back to empathy at the end because Hayes reveals that, oh shit, I can't even remember what I did wrong, and so then they go back, and so it's a roller coaster. But for my best scene, which in this episode I had like fucking 5 written down because it was tough. There were some like individual scenes throughout this episode. There were a shit ton of them in my opinion. But the one I'm going with is the Hayes Woodard scene where he finally kills him because he basically just does suicide by police. They have a great back and forth. It's kind of a dark, funny line, I think, whenever Woodard says that I didn't kill you. You remember that double tap on the door? And I actually went back and rewatched the episode, and it's cool. He does like a little double tap with the gun, hits the door, and misses him by like 2 inches. But yeah, that was a really great scene. I think that kind of sets forward for some trials and tribulations that Hayes has throughout the rest of the series. I think that was kind of a turning point for him, actually killing that guy. But the back and forth and him saying, I'm going to count to 3 in my head, it was a really great scene. And that's the one that I picked out of the whole episode. Geiger.
So for mine, it's got to be when they play the tape whenever, God, I can't remember her name. Whenever the daughter was missing.
Julie.
And Julie Purcell. Thank you. And it's in the 90s version whenever they find her at the convenience store, or believe that is her. And then she calls the police hotline and says that, basically just shitting on Scoot McNairy for being a dad, which I don't really understand what that's about. But saying that he has me and he's never going to give me back. The way Scoot McNairy acted that, the way, Mahershala Ali and Dwarf kind of called him in and stuff, that makes your hair stand up on your neck, man, because you feel so powerless. Your kid is trapped. You don't know why. You don't know with who. There's nothing you can do about it because you didn't even know that she was alive, and basically calling like, I don't even want to go home. I don't want to be found. Just stop looking for me. It was definitely an eerie scene. You're wondering why she's calling like that. But if you've ever read books with someone been captured like that, is they're basically just mind raped so much, man, that they don't even know what's right or wrong anymore, and they're too scared to leave the person because they've been scared half their life. But
it was
brainwashed. Yeah, it was a great scene though, and that was probably the only time where I was just like, oh shit, this is pretty good. The rest of the episode, like you said, was very well acted, but there's never really any oh shit scene, especially for this late in the season.
Yeah, I agree. Both of those scenes were up there for me. Scoot McNairy's performance in that especially, I thought, was very, very well done.
Yep.
All right, guys. Favorite part of the episode, theories or questions moving forward. Again, I'm going to be a dickhead and go first on this. So we know that Hayes and Roland have killed somebody, but we don't know who, correct?
I have a theory of as to who they killed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it sounds like Banner is too, because he's leading us down.
I have a theory as well. So I actually have 2. One of them is more plausible, and I think one is more just, if this actually happens, I'm actually going to be really upset. First one is, in the 90s, they killed Julie Purcell.
Go on.
Okay.
I'm going to be really pissed if that is what it is. But they're obviously hiding something. And you have this investigative documentary team that is looking into this whole story. And Roland is obviously terrified that Hayes might reveal their secret. What if the person they're looking for ends up being the person that they killed in the 90s? Or even worse, they thought they killed her in the 80s, had to cover it up in the 90s, and now they're like, oh shit, somebody's about to figure it out.
That's actually a really good theory, because there's going to be some point in this series that they're covering some shit up, which they kind of alluded to in the last scene. But I just don't know which timeline it is, or if it's both timelines. But they're trying to cover some shit up somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think the twist or the big shocker moment is going to be they covered something up. It's what they covered up. That's what's going to be the big twist. I think another good possibility that they're trying to cover up, or what they did, was it was a closed case out of the 80s. They pinned it on Woodard, and then in the 90s they reopened it up. They end up finding Dan O'Brien, I believe was his name, which is the cousin that lived with them.
Cousin/uncle.
Cousin/uncle. And he did take Julie Purcell. He admitted to it, and they killed him, dumped him in the quarry in Missouri, and then said, oh, we didn't find her, whatever. The case gets closed in 90, or still a cold case, or whatever you want it to be. But they covered up the fact that they actually killed the little boy's murderer, and or he may have killed Julie Purcell in the 90s timeline. And we know that the documentary found his remains in that quarry.
Yeah.
Who put the remains there? Maybe it was Hayes and Roland.
Possibly. I like it.
Those are my theories. Thurman, I know you've got some fires, so let's go Geiger first.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go present day timeline. I kind of hinted at this, but I'm just gonna fucking say it, dude. Mahershala Ali is just playing possum. There's nothing wrong with him at all. The only person that's playing along with him is his son Ray Fisher, and that's why he's going back to Steven Dorff and everyone else. He's playing with the people that are, interviewing him. He's playing with Steven Dorff because no one's going to take him seriously, and they'll probably open up to him because whatever we're going to say to you, you're going to forget. The interviewer is going to open up to them what they know about Julie Purcell, and he's going to crack the case because Steven Dorff and Scoot McNairy are basically, I believe, in cahoots with whoever took Julie Purcell for some reason.
Wow.
The one part of that theory that I really dig into and believe is that he's playing dumb, especially with the interviewer, so she will reveal more stuff. That makes a lot of sense. I like that.
I don't think he has dementia. I really don't.
Well,
I
then
think
how do you
just
explain all
fucking
the
with people.
Chinese men a couple episodes back in his fucking bedroom?
Vanner, that's not like forgetting about shit. That's just having non-flashbacks. That happens to any soldier. I'm talking about where he actually doesn't remember parts of his life and doesn't remember his wife.
All right.
I think he's just fucking with people.
All right.
Just so
I'm
people
on
don't
board.
take him seriously.
Stop while you're ahead. I'm on board. You convinced me.
I think he knows too much, and the only way for the police and everyone to stay the fuck out of his way is they just think he's like senile and stuff. Scoot McNairy and Steven Dorff, I've never trusted their relationship since in the 90s, whenever they basically still have a relationship, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's
They
kind
both
of
have something to hide.
Yeah, they have a weird dynamic in the 90s for sure.
And there's a reason why Steven Dorff is in the 90s on top of the police squad and Mahershala Ali is not, and that is because Mahershala Ali tried to do the right thing and Steven Dorff didn't.
But yet they're still boys. So I don't know. I like where your head's at. I'm confused.
That's because I think Mahershala Ali has been fucking with people this whole time in every single time zone, just because he's so close, and then finally he's just like, I'm just going to pretend I'm senile. This is the time to finally get the killer, and I think he knows that Steven Dorff knows who it is.
Well, and the one thing that I kind of think about this whole series, and if you really think about it as a whole from front to back, Mahershala Ali's character in this Hayes, this has literally consumed his whole life, and there's probably not been like 5 minutes go by in his whole life that he hasn't thought about this.
Yeah.
It has torn him up this whole time, and I think that's gonna eventually what leads to him and his wife's ultimate demise, maybe a suicide, but we don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I was about to say whatever happens between him and his wife, he definitely caused, and I'm pretty sure we know that. We just
Well,
don't
yeah.
know what it was. All right, Thurman. I know you got some fire. What do you got? What do you got in the barrel?
I hope I don't disappoint too much. It's a pretty isolated theory, but after going back and watching the scene where Mr. Purcell is listening to the call that is supposedly Julie, the girl on the phone seems really disjointed. Some of the questions and answers don't really line up with what the dispatcher is saying, which is understandable for someone who's been kidnapped for so long. But from some of the questions that she asked and what she's saying, it almost sounds like what is on the phone call is a recording. It sounds like it's not even necessarily staged, legit a recording. One of the things that really sticks out to me is where she says, "Where is my brother?" It would just be really weird for 10 years after the fact that she says, "Where's my brother?" just randomly. Like, is that really what you're going to ask? I mean, you don't know where he's at or anything. And she doesn't really go along with a normal conversation as far as like someone was having with her. I'm trying to pinpoint when this recording would have been done, which is the tough point. But there's something off with that. And I don't even know if Julie's alive at that point, because I think that's a recording of her voice that they got previously, just because of how it's very disjointed and it doesn't really go together with how the conversation is with the dispatcher.
So I'm just piggybacking off of that. Could
Go
that
for it.
recording not have been in the 90s? Could that have recording been in the 80s or 70s timeline? And they're just now revealing that to him?
Yeah, I'm not sure when they got the recording, but that's what I'm thinking right now, because it just doesn't match up with what she's saying or what happened.
Sorry, when you told me that, my mind first went, was the recording staged, and was that the killer that was asking her questions? Be like, "We're recording this and sending it to police. You got to say this."
Yeah, something like that's a great point, because
like, that's what
I
I
was
was
trying to
thinking.
even piece it together in my head, like, how is this? Because it just sounded disjointed, and that was like my main theory behind that. It was recorded, but yeah, the killer could have like prodded these answers out of her somehow, and then recorded her and just kept them for later, and could have played it. But I really feel like there's some legs on that one.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I could see like the next episode, it opens with Julie Purcell reading that, and the killer just has like the microphone, and it just says, just read this. Tell your dad to leave you alone. I'm not giving you back.
Yep.
That's what I think. What if Dorf took her, man? I mean, Dorf even said, "Nope, no kids, no kids." Did he want kids? Did he take kids? We never know.
Foreshadowing? I don't know.
Wow, that's a fire right there, Geiger.
Fucking trust it. I don't trust fucking anyone on this goddamn show.
You
No
don't
one.
trust anybody in any show, though.
That's true.
You won't give me a 1-foot putt on a green when we golf on Saturday.
My only question is, I don't think it's a secret anymore. We're going to see either a combination or each individual, McConaughey and or Woody Harrelson, in this season. I think we can all agree on that. I think the internet has gone crazy enough, and I think it's going to happen. How do you guys think that's going to happen, or when do you guys think that's going to happen?
I think that they're going to pull some old interviews from those guys once they kind of tie together the dolls, which I think is the main point that they've kind of already emphasized so far. And there's something that we didn't even touch on. I think the sex trafficking aspect of season 1 could be tied into here as well. I think that may be a point that they get to at some point, and they may have kind of prefaced with it, since in this last episode they went and talked to hookers, which kind of plays into that role. But with them kidnapping Julie, I think they could really go back to that. I think they could kind of tie in some way with that if it's kind of the same people or same enterprise doing the same thing.
I don't want them to be too big a part of the story, because the acting's fantastic, and I don't want it to seem like we need them, unless they come back at the present day timeline and we get old Woody Harrelson and an old McConaughey. I think that'd be kind of fucking cool. To have,
Yeah,
like,
that's
all
what I
four
wanna
of
see.
them.
If you get them all
Yeah,
four
that'd
of
be
them
kinda
and screen
badass,
at
I
once,
guess.
that would be
Yeah.
fucking cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of having McConaughey and Harrelson come back. I mean, obviously, you guys know I'm a huge fanboy of McConaughey. I love everything that he's in. But for the sake of this show, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I kind of hope we don't see them. I don't want
It just
them.
seems desperate. It's going fine right now. It
Yeah,
just-
I don't want to taint what we have, and I think we have something good here.
Taint.
Yeah, I said taint.
I think. Sorry, going on top of that, I think that kind of shows that the show is saying, yeah, we know season 2 sucked. We want to connect this back to season 1, which is great so much that we're going to bring it back. So I can kind of see where you're getting at with that, because if they did that, that's what I would feel like they're trying to do.
But I
They're
would
just
be afraid.
yeah. It's a desperate thing from them to just be like, we know season 2 sucks. Hey, if you're not a fan of this lineup or you don't like the first episode, just wait. We're gonna bring back the people from season 1. So if you like season 1, maybe you like this.
Yeah.
Well, and what would suck about that is then, okay, what if they go ahead with the success of season 3 and they do a season 4? Are they going to connect that to season 2 or try and keep this going on? That's not something I want to watch. I like the fact
Yeah.
that they're anthologies. Okay, you hit it out of the ballpark with 1. Season 2 fucking sucked. You're doing great with season 3. Do something in like Washington State or fucking Canada.
It's
with
almost
season
better
4.
that it's not connected, Banner,
Yeah.
because just like the DCU universe, don't you wish some of that shit wasn't connected? Because some of them sucked and the next one's good. So basically, if season 2 sucks, who cares? Like for me, all of you guys told me not to watch season 2, and I didn't at all. And season 3 takes off in a totally different time frame and everything, which we believed at the time. So that's fine. If one season doesn't tickle your fancy, just watch season 1 and 3.
It's like an episode of Survivor or Big Brother or The Bachelor. You pick and choose what you like.
Damn right.
All right, guys. Any last thoughts?
No, I'm just excited.
I'm good.
Yeah, so am I. That's how you end with some fireworks, guys. We are the Broforce Squad podcast. I'm a mad scientist for the Enforcer, In the Paint, and the American Hero. You guys can check us out on our website, www.broforcesquad.com. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube or on iTunes or on Spotify. Follow us on Letterboxd, see what we're watching today. And go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Broforce Squad. That is 3 words, Broforce Squad. Till next time,
Bye.
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 For what?
I
I thought you
did.
cut out.
Oh yeah, I just thought you stopped talking for some reason.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
What do you want us to do? Scream?